For 2 years, my little sister had to endure excruciating pain, with no idea of why it was happening. She spent most weekends visiting the emergency rooms, where they would tell her that nothing was wrong. They could never find an injury, nothing. They sent her for x-ray after x-ray after x-ray. They sent her for MRIs. Still couldn't find anything. Imagine waking up and having severe pain and no one could tell you why. Imagine having your doctors, teachers, coworkers, friends, family thinking you were lying about the pain you had because there was no physical sign of injury. My sister dealt with this for 2 years. After these 2 years, she was diagnosed with RSD-CRPS. RSD stands for Reflex Sympathetic Pain Dystrophy, and CRPS stands for Complex Regional Pain Syndrome. They're the same thing. RSD usually just occurs because it occurs. CRPS comes from an injury. I will use both of these terms interchangeably throughout this speech because they're the same disease. Through the years, my family has not only had to educate ourselves about this disease, but also my sister Amber's teachers and her guidance counselors. The research included finding out how doctors finally diagnosed her with this, what Amber would go through. I mean, when you have a disease that not many people know about, you want to know what's going to happen. And we also had to find out what kind of treatment she would need, if there was a cure, anything like that. As a sister of an RSD patient, I've really had to learn a lot. I've had to have a lot of patience with my sister. There are so many things physically that she can no longer do because of her disease. I mean, during the cold winters and the cold weather, she can't move around a lot. She can't walk around a lot because she has it in her ankle and she also has it in her wrist. There are many things that we have had to help Amber learn to do to deal with her RSD. And one of the things that we came across while we were trying to figure this out was we found support groups that actually could help Amber to cope with her disease. But the question always is, how did they finally diagnose Amber with what she has? I guess we should really start with the symptoms and what can cause CRPS. In 2010, my sister sprained her ankle in gym, and she went for one of many trips to the ER. They diagnosed her for a sprained ankle, put her in a cast, gave her some pain meds, and released her. Then, about 2 weeks later, she was performing in a parade with the twirling group that we used to be a part of, and she sprained her ankle again. This led to Amber's journey with RSD. CRPS and RSD, like I said, are both caused differently. CRPS is caused by an injury, so that's what they're claiming Amber has. Her pain began to occur on a daily basis, even without an injury. So every single day she was coming home complaining she was in pain. Her ankle was swollen. There were different signs that showed she had an injury, but every time we took her to the emergency room, there was no injury. We would put ice on her ankle to try and reduce the swelling, and it actually caused her more pain, which we later found out is one of the symptoms. Patients with RSD and CRPS actually have a low tolerance for extreme cold temperatures, and some have it for extreme hot temperatures. My sister is now 18 years old and has been living with CRPS for 5 years, and every day seems to prove to be a new challenge for her. Her pain is constant, and oftentimes people do not believe that there's anything wrong with her because they cannot see it. There are only approximately 200,000 men, women, and children dealing with CRPS in America, and most people develop it in their 30s and 40s, but more and more nowadays they are finding children who are developing this disease. Oftentimes the people who are suffering from RSD lie about their pain. even though they sometimes suffer pain worse than a cancer patient's, just because nobody believes them. Nobody thinks that they're in pain because they don't have a broken ankle or a broken wrist or anything like that. The disease is most often found in legs, feet, arms, and hands, but it can also be found in the face and behind the eyes. Unfortunately, those of us who are not personally affected by the disease don't really understand what they go through on a daily basis. To help you understand, I will share with you a statement made by Keith Orsini on the RSD Hope organization's website. Keith says in his letter to the organization, "Well, if you had it in your hand, imagine your hand was doused in gasoline, lit on fire, and then kept that way 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you knew it was never going to be put out." He continues with, "I sometimes sit there and I am amazed that no one else can see the flame shooting off of my body." I can sit here and picture this statement in complete vivid detail and wonder how these people could possibly stand to live through this pain. Then I realize how strong these people must be to suffer through this, and on top of that, have to get up and function like a normal person. Oftentimes, doctors prescribe RSD patients with anti-inflammatory drugs to help with pain and swelling, but very rarely does it help with the pain. In order to try and strengthen the affected area, they often will prescribe physical therapy or strengthening exercises. My sister went through physical therapy 2 or 3 times, and she's still going through the pain of it every day. The biggest treatment is where they will shoot anesthetic into certain parts of the spine to block the nerve signals that send these pain triggers to the area. Because in all reality, all CRPS, RSD is nerve signals shooting to that affected area, saying that it is in constant pain, whether there's an injury or not. So your brain is basically telling your body, you're in pain, even when there's no reason for you to be in pain. I ask you today, as I close this speech, to imagine your child. Imagine your child being in so much pain that all they can do is cry, and you can't do anything for them. Imagine your sister wanting to go to an amusement park with her, but having to watch her sit on the sidelines because there's things she can't do because of her pain. Imagine asking your best friend to go to the mall, and then having to listen to the disappointment in their voice as they tell you no, because they're in so much pain they can't even get out of bed. This is why we need to find a cure for RSD CRPS. This is why it's so important that we bring awareness to this disease. Thank you for your time.